Many years ago, I have encountered a real diva once who was a suspect in a murder case. I was convinced she killed her husband, which she had hated for years. All evidence pointed to her poisoning his favorite food. But the case was much more complex than that, as it turned out. It was their daughter Angelica that entered my office on that very particular dark and stormy night. Raindrops were running down the windows under the pale light of a flickering lantern on the corner of the street. She was a typical damsel in distress. Seductive red lips, a hat almost covering her eyes, coat and heels. You know the type. She asked me to light up a cigarette before she told me about the passing of her father. The cold smoke almost hid the big tears behind the cloudy shade, running down her pretty cheeks from those big brown eyes. She didn't say it out loud, but she was begging me to handle this case. Money would not be an issue, she said. I did not care. My rent was overdue anyhow, but her innocent looks convinced me. Like a fawn caught in the blinding lights of an approaching car, I needed to help her. She told me all about her father I needed to know, at least from her point of view. His work as a chairman of the local railroad company, the ongoing struggle with his wife, as well as his love for gambling, expensive cars, and lots of girls. Was this an act of envy? Angelica left many things unspoken, kept the mystery alive. But why? Was she a part of this? Did her mother send her to me? I sure was to figure out. She left me her number before leaving my office, closing the thin wooden door behind her back. I turned around and looked out the window. The cheap whiskey was running down my throat, probably slowly ruining every inch of my body. I grabbed my notebook, pen, my hat and coat. My rusty old 37 Buick was waiting outside, pretty much dry on gas. But Frank's bar wasn't far. The usual suspects were drinking at the counter. Bill, the old fisherman with the crooked nose. He did in fact hear about the death of Mr. Brody, but he didn't tell me without me offering him a drink first. Tough bastard. Turned out Brody had a weak heart with a long history of medical condition. Was this a murder to investigate after all? Or did one of his beloved young girls kill him accidentally by raising his blood pressure a notch too high? I wanted to leave right after Bill had finished his drink. I had heard enough for now. He could not tell me anything else I was interested in. But just as I approached the exit, I heard the piano playing in the back. Frank's got some singers performing now and then. Young girls who try to make it big, and I realize yet that this probably won't happen. One perfect example of those stood on the tiny stage in the corner, barely visible under the old and rusty spotlight. The piano player stopped playing, waiting for the girl to open her mouth. She was anxious, afraid. All eyes were staring at her. From his stool, Bill was shouting, "Sing or go home!" which made it even worse for her. He was looking straight into my eyes. I nodded, encouraging her, silently going, "You can do it." As she finally started to sing, I was captured. For a brief moment, I forgot where I even was or why I came here in the first place. Her voice was silky smooth, soothing, with a foreign accent I could not yet point my finger at. I sat down in a chair just a few feet away from the stage. She was beautiful. My radio was broken for years. I was not caught up on the current music nor artists. I didn't know what she was singing, but I hadn't heard anything alike in a long time. As the song ended, she quickly disappeared backstage. I slapped $5 on the counter and paid for my drink, rushing for the door the girl just vanished through. "That was lovely," I said, catching her just putting on her coat. "Would you mind telling me your name?" "I would, stranger." "Name's Carl Dreagers, ma'am." "I don't like men snooping after me, Carl Dreagers." "Well, can I at least hear you sing again sometime?" "Tomorrow night, same place. I gotta go now." She stormed out of the bar like a snowflake in the wind. Tomorrow, then, I would be there. I left the old drinking hole and called it a night. It sure was best to catch a few moments of sleep before the sun rose again over this shithole of a city. Criminals, murders, convicts, hookers, drug lords and the mafia, all gathered in this god-forsaken hell, and me, caught in the middle of it. I parked my car just outside the apartment. Chuck, the neighbor's trusty German shepherd, announced my arrival with his loud barking, just as usual. Pull the door, turn the key, rattle about with the handle and pray for the best. Welcome home. I flipped the switch, but just as any other night for the last 3 months, the lamp on the ceiling just wouldn't light up. Janitor still hadn't fixed it yet. Maybe I should finally pay my rent. Might help in such instances, I'd assume. I lay down on the couch and pulled my fedora over my face. Good night. The loud knocking on my door ripped me out of my slumber. It was already past 10, damn it. I'd blame it on the whiskey. "Mr. Dreagers, are you in? Please open up." I recognized that voice, although it was hard to match it with the extremely loud and violent banging on my door. "Mr. Dreagers!" It kept on going. "Just a second," I mumbled, more to myself than actually out loud, before I stumbled through the kitchen. It was her, the singer from Frank's Den last night. What was she doing here? "Ma'am, what happened?" "I think someone's been following me home last night. I clearly saw a car pulling out in front of my apartment just after I got in, and just as I was about to leave again this morning, it drove away too." "Ma'am, are you sure this wasn't just one of your neighbors, or an overnight visitor?" "My only neighbor is an old woman, Mr. Dreagers, and I'm pretty sure she was not expecting overnight company." "So you think that someone was observing you? Why would they do that? Any ideas?" "No. I lived in the city for only a couple of months now. I barely know anyone. But maybe someone saw me speaking to you last night and thought that this was not supposed to happen. That's why I went to Frank's again this morning, asking where to find you." "Great. Someone was stalking this young lady because of me. Because a wreck detective decided it would be neat to have a chat with someone he might actually like." As I tried to wrap my head around this, the mysterious beauty was snooping through my apartment. She wore her long brown hair falling down her body, the trench coat almost touching the boots by just an inch. She was dressed for the lousy weather while still maintaining class. Her looks made it hard for me to focus on the task at hand. She was as captivating as can be. "My car's just around the corner, ma'am. I know where to start."